The Wednesday Post. The envelope was out of place. Leo noticed it the moment he shuffled through the modest stack of bills and supermarket flyers on his way back from the mailbox. It was thick, creamy, and weighty, the kind of paper that whispered importance. The address was typed in a crisp, elegant font: Mr. Leo and Mrs. Maria Santini, 43 Willow Creek Lane. No stamp, no postmark, hand-delivered. Leo's knuckles, thickened by 60 years of carpentry and gardening, brushed over the surface as he walked slowly up the path to the ranch house he and Maria had bought 42 years ago. The front garden, his kingdom of order and color, was a late spring symphony. The citrusy scent of marigolds, the velvety purple of irises, the industrious hum of bees in the lavender. He could hear the familiar, comforting sounds from within, the rhythmic chop of a knife against a wooden board, the sizzle of garlic meeting olive oil, and the warm alto of his wife singing along to the oldies station. "Anything good?" Maria asked, not turning from the stove. The kitchen was steamy and fragrant, a temple of basil and simmering tomatoes. Her hands, dusted with flour, moved with a knowing efficiency, pinching the edges of a pie crust. "Bills, flyer for roofing, and this." Leo placed the mysterious envelope on the cluttered kitchen table, next to a bowl of ripening peaches and that morning's crossword, half completed in his careful print. Maria wiped her hands on her apron, eyeing the envelope. "Who's it from?" "No idea. It was just in there." Their daughter Gina burst through the back door then, a whirlwind of brisk energy and floral scrubs, her nursing shoes squeaking on the linoleum. "Sorry I'm late, Ma. Traffic on the bridge was a nightmare. Where's my terror?" She dropped a kiss on Maria's cheek and began rifling through her oversized bag. "Upstairs, building a quantum destabilizer out of Legos and your old headphones. He says it's for school." Gina rolled her eyes, but the love in them was palpable. "Of course it is." Her gaze fell on the envelope. "Ooh, fancy. You win a sweepstakes, Pop?" "Maybe it's a summons," Maria said, only half joking. The unknown made her wary. "Open it already," Gina urged, pulling a juice box from the fridge for her son. Leo slid a butter knife under the flap. He pulled out a single, heavy sheet of paper. It was a letter. He adjusted his reading glasses and began to read aloud, his voice a low rumble. "Dear Mr. and Mrs. Santini, please forgive the unconventional delivery. My name is David Chen. For the past 6 months, I have had the great privilege of delivering your mail on the Wednesday route. In that time, observing your home and family from the sidewalk has taught me more about the life I wish to build than any boardroom ever could." Leo paused, his brow furrowed. Gina stopped moving, juice box in hand. Maria's wooden spoon hung suspended over the pot. "I am by societal measure a very wealthy man. This has brought me many things, but it has also made genuine connection difficult. People see the suit, the car, the title, not the man. 6 months ago, needing a respite from that world, I took a temporary position with the Postal Service under my middle name, David. It was meant to be an anonymous escape." "A mailman? A millionaire mailman?" Gina whispered. Leo continued, his voice gaining a note of wonder. "Then, on my first Wednesday on Willow Creek Lane, I met your daughter, Gina. She was wrestling a giant box of diapers out of her car while trying to keep your remarkable grandson, Sam, from chasing a squirrel into the street. I helped with the box. She thanked me with a smile that felt like the sun after a long winter, and a genuine warmth I hadn't encountered in years. We kept talking. A coffee became lunch, lunch became dinner. I have been falling in love with her ever since." Maria's hand flew to her mouth. Gina's face was a canvas of shock, dawning understanding, and a blush that crept from her neck to her hairline. "David? My David? But he drives a 10-year-old Corolla. He lives in a nice but normal apartment. He loves cheap Thai food and bad sci-fi movies." "I concealed my wealth not out of deceit, but out of a desperate need to be seen for who I am, not what I own."
Gina saw David the mailman, a kind, hard-working man who makes her laugh, who listens, who is endlessly fascinated by Sam's theories on black holes and dinosaurs. He is my anchor, my truth, and through her, I have been welcomed into your world. The smell of your Wednesday suppers, the sight of Mr. Santini's roses, the sound of Maria singing from the kitchen. I have watched from my truck as you eat on the patio, 3 generations laughing under the string lights. I have seen the care package you sent home with Gina for me when I had a cold. You have shown me, without even knowing it, what a family truly is. Tears were streaming down Maria's cheeks now, silent and shining. Gina leaned against the counter, looking utterly winded. I love your daughter with all my heart. I have asked her to marry me, and she, knowing only the man who delivers her mail, has said yes. The guilt of my omission, however, has become unbearable. I cannot enter your family under false pretenses, so I am coming to you, not with a boardroom presentation, but with a humble confession and a plea. I will be at your door this coming Wednesday at my usual time, 1:15 p.m. I will understand if you wish to send me away, but I hope, more than I have ever hoped for anything, that you might let me explain in person, and perhaps, in time, let me earn a place at your table. The letter was signed simply, with the utmost respect and hope, David Chen. The silence in the kitchen was profound, broken only by the bubble of tomato sauce. Upstairs, a crash and a triumphant "whoa" from Sam echoed down. "He's a millionaire?" Maria finally breathed. "All this time?" "He's David," Gina said, her voice firming with a defensive edge. "He's the guy who brings Sam those weird international stamps for his collection. He's the one who helped Dad fix the mailbox hinge in the rain. He's the man who looks at me like I'm the only person in the world." She looked at her parents, her eyes pleading. "The money, it's just a detail."
Leo carefully folded the letter, his carpenter's hands gentle with the expensive paper. He looked out the kitchen window to his garden, his sanctuary of tangible, growable things. A millionaire. He thought of the men in suits he'd done custom work for over the years, their impatience, their eyes that looked past him, through him. Then he thought of David. David, who always had a moment to talk about the hydrangeas. David, who'd sat on the porch steps with Sam for 20 minutes discussing the aerodynamic efficiency of paper airplanes. "He fixed the mailbox," Leo said, finally. "He ate 3 helpings of my lasagna last week," Maria added, wiping her tears with her apron. "He said it was the best he'd ever had. He even took the leftovers." "He loves Sam," Gina whispered. They stood in their triangle in the warm kitchen, the weight of the secret settling around them. It wasn't anger they felt, but a deep, bewildering disorientation. The man they knew had a hidden continent inside him. "Wednesday," Maria said. "He's coming Wednesday." The week passed in a strange, suspended animation. Gina was a tumult of emotions, hurt by the secret, yet fiercely protective of the man she knew. Maria cleaned the house with a vengeance, then stopped, declaring, "We are not auditioning for him. He is auditioning for us." Leo retreated to his garden, pruning and weeding with a quiet intensity. Wednesday dawned clear and bright. By 1 p.m., the air in the Santini home was thick with unspoken tension. Maria had, despite her declaration, made her famous lemon almond biscotti. Leo had put on a clean shirt. Sam was building a welcome vortex in the living room out of couch cushions. At 14:14 p.m., the familiar white mail truck with the red and blue stripe pulled up to the curb. They watched from the window as David, in his standard-issue postal uniform, navy blue shorts, knee-high socks, hat, got out. He didn't reach for the mail in the back. Instead, he walked to the passenger seat, pulled out a simple, elegant gift box and a familiar, slightly battered thermos. Maria recognized it as the one she'd sent the chicken soup in. He walked up the path, his posture straight but not proud, his face pale under the brim of his hat. He looked not like a titan of industry, but like a man walking to his own sentencing. Leo opened the door before he could knock. For a long moment, they just looked at him. David the mailman, David the millionaire. He was the same. Kind, dark eyes, a gentle smile that was currently tense with anxiety, the slight slope of his shoulders after a long route. "Mr. Santini," he began, his voice steady but soft. "Mrs. Santini, Gina." "You'd better come in," Leo said, his tone neutral. David stepped into the living room, his eyes taking in the familiar, beloved chaos. The family photos covering the walls, the slightly sagging sofa, Sam's cushioned fortress, the smell of coffee and biscotti. He looked profoundly home. He placed the gift box and thermos on the coffee table. "First," he said, "this is for you." He handed the thermos to Maria. "I've been meaning to return it. The soup, it was the best medicine I've ever had." Then he gestured to the box. "And this is not an attempt to buy anything. It's a thank you for the smiles from the porch, for the water on a hot day, for letting a stranger feel like a part of the scenery here." Maria, her heart a conflicted drum, opened the box. Nestled inside were two beautiful hand-blown glass hummingbird feeders, their colors swirling like captured galaxies. "For the garden," he said, looking at Leo. "I've seen the ruby-throated ones visiting your bee balm. These might attract more." Leo's stern expression softened a fraction. He reached out and touched the glass, a craftsman appreciating another's work. "Sit," Maria said, her hospitality instinct overriding her confusion. They sat around the kitchen table, the same table where report cards had been celebrated, taxes had been lamented, and 1,000 ordinary miracles had unfolded. David didn't sit at the head. He took his usual spot, next to Gina, his hand finding hers under the table. She didn't pull away. And he talked, not in the jargon of finance or the arrogance of wealth, but in the quiet, earnest tones of a man explaining his soul. He spoke of a lonely childhood, of pressure, of a life where transactions replaced interactions. He described the soul-deep weariness that led him to the postal service job, the sheer, liberating anonymity of the uniform. "And then I met Gina," he said, his eyes shining as he looked at her. "And I met all of you. This house, it's alive. It breathes. It's messy and loud, and it smells like garlic and love. My penthouse has a view of the city, but it's silent. The only thing that grows there is the interest on my investments." He looked at Leo. "You grow life out there. You tend it. Maria, you feed people, not just food, but comfort. You've all built something real, and I just wanted to be near it, to be a small part of it, even if it was just as the guy who brought the electric bill." He swallowed. "The lie became a wall between me and the very thing I wanted. I am so sorry for the deception. I will understand if you need time, or if this changes everything." The clock on the wall ticked, the fridge hummed. Upstairs, Sam's music floated down. Maria looked at her daughter's face, at the love and fear warring there. She looked at her husband, a man who valued truth in wood grain and straight lines. "Do you love her?" Maria asked, her voice quiet but clear. "With everything I am," David replied, without a millisecond of hesitation. "Do you love Sam?" Leo asked. "He's the coolest, smartest kid I've ever met. I want to help him build every destabilizer he can dream up." Leo nodded slowly. He looked at David's hands resting on the table. Good hands, not soft. "You know," Leo said, his voice gravelly, "a fancy piece of wood, mahogany or teak, it's impressive, but sometimes it's got a hidden weak spot, a crack you can't see until you start working it. Pine now, it's honest, it shows its knots right away, strong in its own way. For the right project, it's the best thing there is." David held his gaze, understanding the metaphor. "I want to be pine, Mr. Santini, knots and all." A small smile touched Leo's lips. He looked at Maria, and a silent conversation passed between them, a language forged over decades. Maria pushed the plate of biscotti towards David. "You're too thin," she said, and it was not a comment on his physique, but an absolution. "Eat." The tension broke like a dam. A sob escaped Gina, a release of all the pent-up worry. David put his arm around her, pulling her close, murmuring into her hair, "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." Sam chose that moment to barrel into the kitchen, his hair askew. "Did the mail come? David, you're here! Did you bring the mail? Did you see my vortex?" David laughed, a real free sound that filled the kitchen. "I did see it. It's epic. And I brought something better than mail today." He pulled a small, carefully wrapped package from his pocket. "For the chief destabilizer engineer, from Belgium." Sam ripped it open to reveal a sheet of exquisite vintage star map stamps. His eyes went wide as planets. "Whoa, these are awesome!" And just like that, the extraordinary was woven back into the ordinary. The secret was out, the truth laid bare, and the man remained. Not a millionaire, not a mailman, but David, who loved Gina, who admired Leo's garden, who cherished Maria's cooking, who remembered stamps for a curious boy. That evening, for the first time, David stayed for Wednesday supper not as a guest, but as family under construction. He helped set the table. He listened to Sam's elaborate plan for a backyard rocket, powered by vinegar and baking soda. He argued good-naturedly with Leo about the best fertilizer for roses. He helped Maria clear the plates, and when he tried to wash them, she shooed him away with a dish towel, just like she did with Leo. Later, as the fireflies began to spark in the gathering dusk, they all moved to the patio. The new hummingbird feeders, filled with sugar water, hung from the eaves, catching the last of the sun. Leo and David sat with glasses of homemade wine, talking in low tones about David's real work, the transition he'd have to navigate, his desire to use his resources for good, to build community gardens, to fund after-school programs, not as a patron, but as a partner. Inside, through the screen door, Maria and Gina washed up, the clink of plates a gentle percussion to their murmured conversation about wedding dates and venues. "Simple," Gina insisted. "Right here," Maria declared. Gina stepped out, joining David. He slid his arm around her waist, pulling her close. She rested her head on his shoulder. They watched as Leo pointed out the first brave hummingbird, a shimmering emerald blur, approaching the new feeder. It hovered, investigating, then dipped its needle-like beak into the liquid glass. "Look," Leo whispered, his voice full of wonder. In that quiet moment, under the soft glow of the string lights that Leo had hung years ago and Maria insisted on lighting every single night from May to October, something profound settled. The despise was gone, stripped away. What remained was not a title or a balance sheet, but a man who had walked a long, lonely road to find a path up a modest driveway. He had traded the view from a penthouse for the view from a porch swing, a view of a man tending his roses, a woman singing off-key in a warm kitchen, a child's laughter chasing lightning bugs, and the woman he loved, solid and real in his arms. He had come disguised as a mailman to find a family, and in the end, the family had simply seen the man and welcomed him home. The hummingbird, satisfied, zipped away into the twilight, its tiny wings beating a rhythm of resilience, of belonging, of connection, the most precious delivery of all.